Well, hello everybody. This is Sean Haig with CI 5327 here today to present my final project, which I'm super excited about. Today is Monday. Actually, it's almost May 1st, April 29th. Only one day away from May 1st. Very exciting. We have beautiful weather out there. I'm actually in my office here at the University of Minnesota. Again, I work at the Center for Transportation Studies, so I'm in our classroom, one of our offices here, and I can see outside, which is really nice because it's very sunny out there. I debated if I should record this outside, but I decided it would be a little bit easier to do it inside. But my course, my online adventure learning course that I wanted to present today is titled Urban Transportation in the Twin Cities. And so you can see here I am using Schoology. A quick background on myself. Prior to this course, I have not done any specific teaching other than a few courses here at the University of Minnesota, so I'm familiar with Moodle, but I wanted to try out Schoology just to kind of see how it works. And in a lot of ways it's very similar to Moodle, but I think there's several enhancements to it which I think could be a pretty good program to use in schools or wherever you're going to potentially teach this course. So again, very excited to be here and to present the work that I've developed over the course of this semester, and in no means is this a complete course. This is more or less a preview for you to kind of see what I've been working on, where I'm at, and certainly addressing the adventure learning principles within this overview here. But again, no way is this complete. It is certainly in the early stages, and there's a lot more development to take place, especially as I learn who out there would be interested in actually teaching this or delivering this into their courses. So to begin with, a bit of an overview of what I've developed here. Again, it's transportation, really looking at the urban transportation setting, and use the perfect example of the Twin Cities, so Minneapolis, St. Paul. As all of us know, there is a lot of different transportation issues going on in the Minneapolis, St. Paul area. So what I want this course to do is to spend some time looking at what those issues are here in the metropolitan area. So as far as the course is concerned, what I do present is an overview of what this course is. So if you were a student and you were logging into here, you'd be able to understand a little bit on what the course is. So the route that I want this course to look at is students are going to basically be traveling with transportation experts from downtown Minneapolis to downtown St. Paul. And that corridor in itself isn't very long. I actually don't know what the mileage is, but it's not a lot of miles, and it really only takes you on a non-congested day about 20 minutes to get from downtown Minneapolis to downtown St. Paul. So very quick. But my starting location would be in almost the middle of downtown Minneapolis, would be more on the edge of it at the Target Center, because that is Target Field, Target Center. That area is a place that a lot of people are aware of. And then the ending location to kind of fit into the kind of the urban transportation area is the Minnesota Transportation Museum, which is very close to the state capitol and near downtown St. Paul. So those are kind of the starting and ending locations, and in reality the experts are going to explore and navigate the urban Twin Cities transportation systems, really focusing on urban mobility. How do people get around the Twin Cities area? Is it by car? Is it by bus? Is it by bicycle? And so throughout this course, the goals are really to educate students on those problems that I mentioned a little bit earlier, whether it's traffic congestion, the lack of public transportation in our Twin Cities area. And then distracted driving is another area that I do want to touch on with this. I didn't spend a lot of time developing things for this kind of overview, but I wanted it to be a goal to look at ways to reduce traffic crashes and to look at distractions on the road, and particularly looking at teens. And so this course is really looking at using it in a high school classroom. It would be nice to be used for those students that are close to either getting their driver's license or have had it for a few years. But the other thing too is as society grows and gets bigger, high school students aren't necessarily getting their license right away. They're using other modes of transportation, such as bicycles and buses, and so this course is also going to spend a lot of time looking at those other modes and ways that we can do a better job of developing those modes of transportation in urban areas. So as you can see, I have a couple team members listed here. They are John Doe and Sarah Doe. I do not know yet who those people would be if this course actually took off, but I would want to include people such as transportation engineers and transportation planners. And so anyway, I just kind of have this page here as well to kind of talk about the overview of the course. And then so as we kind of get into some of the principles here, what I developed was called it Updates Urban Transportation Adventures in the Twin Cities. So each week is what I'm kind of proposing, each week that there would be an adventure, that there would be a focus area. So for example, in week 1, again, this is more or less kind of just made up so that I could show you something of what I'm visioning is that you would, as a student or as the facilitator, would come to this page. It's similar to Aaron's, the different websites that he has worked on up in the Arctic, where you're able to kind of create a map showing where you're located. I have a video here just as an example. I did show this in some previous previews. This, again, is just an example of kind of showing you what the bike lanes are like in downtown Minneapolis. And then I have some photos here that these would be collected over the course of that week, but again, kind of just showing you some of the things that I would want to integrate into this site. So we have a picture of Target Field here. Again, you can see Target Field, but you can see the North Star train system, which is a piece of the public transportation system, and obviously more bus train routes right here that are just kind of showing you some pictures of that. So again, I would probably have a field report, so, I would have those experts, those transportation planners, engineers, in downtown Minneapolis, and they would either be on their bike, they would be hopping on a bus, they would be taking video footage, they'd be taking pictures, and it would get uploaded weekly on this site so that students would be able to collaborate, they'd be able to go online, they'd be able to view it, they'd be able to download it onto their computers at home or in the school, and be able to use that information to work on the curriculum that I'll talk about in a few minutes. One of the things that I implemented in this first week is, one of the things that, for example, to build a target field, there has to be a transportation plan that is developed. So one piece of the curriculum would be for students to download an example transportation management plan, which I have here, and have them spend some time working on that, kind of dissecting it a little bit, and then uploading different questions and answers regarding that management plan, and having more of an online collaboration between the experts and the students. So throughout my urban transportation course here, one of the things that I did want to implement with collaboration was Twitter. I think Twitter is a very valuable tool. I think many of us do use it in different capacities, but there is some research out there that does show that having Twitter as a discussion tool, as a collaboration tool, does add some value. So for this example, I'm letting students know that they should participate in the following Twitter chat on April 26th at 3 p.m. to discuss transportation issues in Minneapolis, and I have a hashtag, TransChat4505, that's just made up to be merely an example. But what my goal would be is for each week, at the end of each week, Friday afternoon, we would have the experts go on for a Twitter dialogue for about an hour, and students would go on there. They would be required to go on there as part of the curriculum and participate in those dialogues. So there would be questions put out there, there would be issues. For week 1, if we're talking about downtown Minneapolis and some of the busing issues, maybe some of the discussions would be more about what can we do how can we do a better job of integrating buses into the downtown Minneapolis area? Why is a transportation management plan useful before constructing a large facility like the Twin Stadium, for example? And so what I threw in for kind of this week 1 is some more integration, kind of including it as part of the curriculum is I want to include like a question of the week. Again, this is going to be a tool that that will be kind of an online collaboration tool. Students will go on, they'll answer that question, they'll use Dropbox, they'll add a video or a photo to kind of describe their answer. So the question I made up for week 1 was, what mode of transportation do your parents use to get to and from work? Car, bus, motorcycle, and it could be as simple as taking a picture of that car that their parents drive, or a bus, a motorcycle, a bike, whatever it may be. And so that's kind of another piece of that as well. Throughout the different weeks, I did add some things like creating a quiz. This just kind of adds in kind of that collaboration piece and pedagogical integration in there to educate our students. And then one of the other interesting things that I do want to eventually incorporate is to require a podcast where a student would spend some time looking at the downtown Minneapolis area, whatever part of that curriculum gets developed into this course, but then creating a podcast where they can upload a 30-second audio podcast kind of describing some of the problems, the issues that they see in the transportation area, and then responding to another student's podcast. So that would be something that I would integrate into this course as well. So again, for example, I just talked through week 1, but I also created a week 2, again, to kind of show you an example of what I would be looking at is, so we're still in downtown Minneapolis, but we're slowly making our way to downtown St. Paul. The next part of it would be looking at St. Anthony Falls Lock and Dam, and spend some time at that facility. I have a few photos down here, I have a video, and the example I used here with the field report is that we, as the experts, the transportation experts, as we were making our way to the St. Anthony Lock and Dam, we came across a canoer named Mike, and I'll just kind of play this video here as well, but this kind of showed a canoer that was canoeing to the Lock and Dam. It gives students somewhat of a perspective, but this is what I would want, so that a student could see this and kind of see how the Lock and Dam works, why we have a lock and dam, why we have it on a river system, and then certainly to spend some time discussing that on this site. So again, I have field report here, just kind of talking a little history on the locks and dam. And then the other part of it is too, for example, if this was incorporated into my course, I would want to go over and interview Jeff Marr. He's an Associate Director of Facilities at the St. Anthony's Fall Lock and Dam, which is a part of the University of Minnesota. There's a lot of research that goes there. And to get a video of him interacting either with myself as a transportation expert or with a class or such, if we went down and did a tour of that. So again, I have a Twitter discussion on there. I kind of have a quiz on there to give you a little bit of a perspective. But I want to spend some time on weeks 3 and 4. This is, again, what I would envision looking at intelligent transportation systems, looking at traffic, looking at gridlock. As students in high school, you're certainly aware of it. If you're driving around as a high school student, you're aware of it. Depending on where you live, it's going to be different. So I certainly would want to touch on that. But again, this is giving you kind of a perspective. I have a photo of congestion on there. I have kind of a placeholder of a video. It's a careers video that was developed here at the University of Minnesota, but I might try to somehow integrate this into the course as well, looking at intelligent transportation systems, and is it a career for you?
Imagine a world where cars
career
drive
focus
themselves.
into the class as well, and
what sort of careers are out there for students, for them to think about engineering, to think about planning, to think about history, if you want to be, become a transportation history person. And then the other part that I integrated into this kind of week 3 and 4 is the game Gridlock Buster. Gridlock Buster is a game that was developed actually here at the University of Minnesota, and what it does, apologize, there's a lot of sound on this one, but I won't play the game, but the game is a traffic engineering game, and it has a number of levels. It's very intuitive. It's very interesting. Students love it. I've used it with both elementary age students all the way through college, and there's some really great curriculum that I've developed here at the University of Minnesota that integrates with this game. So what the assignment I would have for this particular week is to watch a video on traffic engineering and traffic careers, and then play the game, the Gridlock Buster game, and then you're going to want to record your highest score, your finest score, and then an essay more or less on
how traffic impacts you. And I would want to have a discussion with our transportation experts. So it would probably be a traffic engineer from, say, the Minnesota Department of Transportation that we would spend some time with, talking to and learning about and integrating that into the course itself to really provide, again, that collaboration, to integrate it with the curriculum, to integrate it with the authentic narrative, to have a real person actually explaining how traffic engineering works, how does it work with their traffic lights. The University of Minnesota is a great place to really spend some time learning about these different things. I have a traffic intersection assignment on here, so having all these things incorporated into the course, I think will add some value to it. So that gives you a little bit of perspective on kind of how I want to set up my various weeks. And again, these are just examples. This is just kind of my mindset and kind of planning what it's going to look like. The other parts that I wanted to kind of touch on within the actual online adventure learning is I'm going to include interactive lab tours. So, for example, here at the University of Minnesota, we do have, it's called the Human First Lab. It's a lab that spends time doing research on human interactions and how we drive. And so thinking about what are people thinking about when they're in the car? And so what this video does is it explains a little bit what the Human First Lab does.
How drivers interact with in-vehicle technologies on a psychological, perceptual, and behavioral level.
And so we went over there and we asked some research-related questions, but it's actually a really interesting video that I think the students would find very, very interesting to see. And so somehow taking that as one of the lab tours and then integrating that into the week lesson plans, integrating that into what the teachers are instructing or facilitating, and then I would actually incorporate a number of lab tours. So we have a lot of transportation labs here at the University of Minnesota, so we would take video of that and integrate that into the website. Some of the assignments that I have include uploading different video clips that maybe students have come across on the news, have come across on commercials. There's a lot of insurance companies that do post various videos on TV and on the internet, so it would be a way to have students post those and potentially develop a project behind it. So you might have small groups that are going to work on a messaging thing in their high school that they could kind of develop their own video and then upload it onto this site kind of when we get into more of the safety measures of transportation. So another part of it is blog updates for the transportation experts that I would have on here. I would have them weekly creating blog posts based on different transportation issues. I also will incorporate blog updates for the students to have them create a blog for each individual student that's taking part in this course, so they would upload that into this area. Again, it's not completely developed yet. We talked a little bit about podcasts already. I do have an area that students, as well as the teachers and the experts, can post photos of things that they've seen for the week, different modes of transportation, whatever the issue that we're working on for that particular week. There would be an area that students and everybody involved in the course would be posting different photos. And then another really interesting part that I want to integrate into some of the modules and lesson plans is here at the university, for example, we've done a lot of interviews with researchers and faculty on different areas. So, for example, interview number 1, blind pedestrian research with researcher Chen-Fu Lau here at the University of Minnesota. And then we have Henry Liu, who's a professor at civil engineering, talking about congestion. So having a way to bring these videos to the students to watch and learn from and build some synced learning opportunities that way, that there's some assignments that they have to either watch the videos and they have to upload them onto the website. And then one kind of very big picture thing that I would love to incorporate is have a student create their own transportation story. So where, everything from what have they learned about transportation from a little kid up until how old they are now, what have they seen on the roads, what are some strategies or safety mechanisms that they maybe would want to develop, better seat belts, ways to reduce the amount of noise in the vehicle, requirements to having beverages in your car, some of those sort of things. And so that's something that I would eventually want to integrate into this to build some collaboration as well. And then
I put on here debate with transportation expert Sean Haig. Just an example, I want to incorporate some sort of a debate facilitator, so maybe it could be through Twitter, where we have some sort of debate on there, or it could be an online discussion tool within the Schoology site. And then the other kind of last piece that I wanted to briefly talk about is I did just spend a few minutes creating this Google map, kind of showing you where the route would be for this particular course. I didn't do that great of a job here, but this would be an interactive map that that I would have of what the routes are going to look like from downtown Minneapolis to downtown St. Paul. You can
see coming along University Avenue, get a chance to drive on I-94 here into downtown St. Paul. So this would be a way to build some interactiveness and collaboration to really spend some time on the issue of downtown Minneapolis and St. Paul, and really the traffic congestion issues as well. And so to kind of finish off with, for the apologize, I thought I had to sneeze here. Things that I did integrate is a for teachers site here to kind of look at what we could do for the teachers so that they have some pedagogy help. And so what I created are a few different folders. I created more or less kind of a getting started overview, talking a little bit about what this opportunity is, how you might integrate it into your class, why it's important, and it's kind of that introduction that I showed you at the beginning. But I think the real kind of cool thing that I want to integrate into this is having a teacher workshop. I think this is a really important thing. I've seen it across the web. Other people have done it with their online adventure learning examples. But creating some sort of a workshop where you would invite teachers either through the web, or that it would be a hands-on workshop, say at the University of Minnesota, and you would invite them to really kind of learn how to integrate this urban transportation experience into their classroom. So you'd walk through the different lesson plans and the curriculum that's been developed and how it's going to get used, and so that they feel comfortable and that they have knowledge to be able to integrate it into their classes. So that would be one example of how we would integrate some pedagogical integration in there. Sorry about that. And then I would post the curriculum and lesson plans on here. I didn't want to spend a lot of time showing you that, but I do have a few examples of what a lesson plan might look like. So here you could download the file right into here, and you can see lessons for high school students, lesson 1 handout, introduction to signal timing. So how can we incorporate the signal timing into the course itself as we're driving down, say, University Avenue? I would have maybe a module on a transportation engineer expert that is driving along University Avenue and gets stuck at a traffic light for a series of time, where they would spend some time talking about cues and timing and the engineering behind it, and incorporating that into the course. So that's just another example there. And then video conferencing, I think throughout the course I would set up weekly kind of training sessions with the teachers that are participating in the course to kind of have a free-for-all kind of catch-up question and answer session. We could do it over Twitter, would be another example, but I think video conferencing could work really well for them to kind of see me. And then I did create a for students site. I didn't really spend a lot of time on that, but it would be a way to develop some guidelines and tutorials. So for example, to develop some instructions on how they would integrate media into their Schoology site and kind of test that out and just have some instructions for them on how to do that was kind of my purpose for this example. So like Twitter, not every student maybe has a Twitter account, so how do you create a Twitter account? How do you use it? Put up some tutorials and figure out ways to provide some of that instruction for the students as well as the teachers. The Twitter thing would be very applicable to the students as well. So one thing that I did want to touch on before I finish this up is kind of the delivery details. I obviously don't have this all planned out yet, but one of the things that I want to talk about is that this would certainly be for high school students. The facilitators would be teachers. So it could be a math teacher, it could be a science teacher, it could be a social studies teacher. Transportation is so broad that it really touches on all these different areas, so I think it could certainly be integrated to any one of those sort of subjects, but depending on if we were going to do more, say, the math and engineering side, it might be more applicable to a math class versus social studies, where we may, social studies, spend more time kind of on the planning, the urban integration, kind of that side of things. And then
I would imagine that the delivery of this would be anywhere from 6 weeks up until 12 weeks. I think there's a lot of information out there, but really the next step is kind of figuring out those details. How is this going to work into an actual classroom? How much information can we actually put into 1 week with a topic of traffic engineering, for instance? So, that's kind of part of it as well. I also wanted to touch on funding a little bit. I think there is potential here for transportation. It's such a large issue. The legislature just passed, the House and Senate just passed some large bills here in the state of Minnesota. So maybe integrating some of that political side of things into the course would be very interesting. But I think as far as funding, I think there is potentially sources out there in how we can get this information into a real classroom. I'm also talking with folks on how we could potentially integrate this into, say, a undergraduate traffic engineering course, maybe spending a week or a couple of class periods where they could be involved in kind of this adventure learning opportunity. I think there's a lot of opportunity for higher education as the students get more in depth in some of the engineering and planning terms and focus areas. I think this could certainly be integrated in there as well. So that's going to be my next step, to look at opportunities for funding and to see who out there, as far as people from the Minnesota Department of Transportation or other faculty and learning technology folks that might be interested in integrating this into one of their courses or designing something a little bit more full-blown so that we can get the word out on the importance of transportation. So I think that sums up what I have here, and certainly email me. I do have contact information for myself on this site, but you're certainly welcome to contact me at any time if you do have an interest in urban transportation adventures. And just want to make this fun and interesting, and I think the final part of this, when I do finish it, it will have a lot of more integration of photos and videos, real-time data collection, and those sort of things. But this gives you a good preview, and hopefully I addressed, I think, all of the different online adventure principles. And so again, let me know if you have any questions, and I appreciate your time.